I'm 20 years old and I'm a student. I study. My dad thinks I do study. I do study, Dad. I write a bit and I think a lot. But if you take down all that I do, what I do is barter with words. Words are my sword and armor, and words are what I work with. I MUN, I do public speaking, and I speak a lot. That gives me a lot of social interaction. I write poetry. I think you guys can hear me. Anyway. I write poetry and that's led to some incredible opportunities in my life. And that basically comes to the crux of what I do. I pander with creativity. You pander with creativity too. As a human being, you are a creative being and you pander with creativity. I can't inspire you. I'm still learning myself. I don't aim to inspire you. But what I can do here today is have an honest, open conversation about something that's very personal to me. I will talk about how creativity heals. Now, I started writing when I was in 3rd grade, roughly. I loved building stories. I knew how beautiful words are and how I can build worlds out of them. I still remember the first poem I wrote in 7th grade. It was this angst-ridden teenage piece to my mother about how she doesn't own me. And I think even today, most of what I write are angst-ridden teenage pieces to my mother. I think they're better written, she doesn't agree. Now, I started creating an identity for myself out of these words because I did not have one of my own. When I say I created an identity, I hid behind these words. They became, as people saw it, my solace. I used that word in inverted commas because it wasn't actually a solace. It was a cage and a trap. I had trapped myself and cornered myself into a negative form of creativity. I wrote about cheesy love songs and I wrote about half-fulfilled fantasies because that's what I thought I'd never get in my life. I'm heavy now, but I was much, much heavier back then. I was isolated because I thought rudeness and being curt would make me seem a slightly more advantaged person than I was at that time. This continued for about 7 years or so. Eventually, I stopped writing. Completely. When I say I stopped writing, I refused to pick up a pen and put it down to paper. It came to a point where I did everything but write. I refused to show what I wrote earlier to people. This hiatus went on for almost 2 years, and this was 4 years ago. 2 years ago, I hesitantly picked up a pen again and decided, I'm in a better space now. I'm doing better at life. I think I can write again. I don't think I've stopped after I started again. And as I started writing, I realized something very, very integral to where I am today. The fact that writing in the better space I was at this time gave me something that years of medication, therapy, psychiatrists, psychologists, group meetings did not give me. It gave me the ability and the space to heal. Now, this is something that is very personal to me. But I think everybody, whether you're 5, 50, 15, you have something that chafes at you, don't you? There's something in your heart that's going to keep you up at night. There's something in you that you feel is wrong or off, but you can't quantify it because you don't know it yourself. I did a very, very shoddy job of fixing myself the first time around, and I started to undo that entire fixing. As I refix myself, I'd invite you on this journey with me. I'm trying to figure out how to heal, and maybe with me you can too. So today, I'm going to basically speak on 3 concepts. First is the idea of definition. Second is the continuity of healing. And third is the art of forgiveness. I sound like a Deepak Chopra book, but I swear this makes sense. Just hear me out here, please. Alright, so definition. I classify myself as a creative person. And most creative people will abhor the idea of definition because they think it binds and constricts them. I disagree. Definition does not mean words written down in an Oxford dictionary. Definition is a degree of distinction. Now, when I speak of definition, it is a very personal idea. However, a lot of people are very afraid to define things in their own context because that makes them ask questions of themselves. Introspection is not a pleasant idea. Introspection requires you to dig deep into your psyche and bring out things that you would rather keep hidden and think of as an alien malaise. So, I'm going to try and define 3 words for you here. Creativity, healing, and pain. Creativity has a very blasé definition for something that holds so much gravity to it. It is defined as using original ideas or imagination for artistic work. Now, that definition does not quantify itself for me. Creativity is the most important resource a human mind has. Your mind is incredibly powerful. It has the idea and the ability to create worlds and destroy them too. But the problem is that these are just ideas. Creativity is the medium through which it gets tangible expression, right? So you as a person have to create to give your ideas that body and that ability to impact. In this context, however, impact doesn't mean a social impact, like Sir said. This means a personal impact. This is impact on yourself as a creator first of all. When I talk of creativity here, I don't talk about gigantic terms of writing bestsellers. If you're a housewife and you make a rangoli every day, despite the fact that you're not feeling too well and your children were really rude to you, that's creativity. Now, 2 words I'm going to try and identify together, that's pain and healing, because they work simultaneously. There are too many definitions of these words currently, so let's just try to create a generic idea. Pain refers to when you're in a space which is uncomfortable for you vis-a-vis your normal perspective, right? That's pain. Now the problem with pain is that there are so many types of pains, right? There's physical, emotional, metaphysical, mental, all sorts of pains. Some are visible, some are invisible. You could be suffering from an invisible disease like Crohn's disease and nobody would know. However, what binds all these pains together is the fact that each of us relates to and quantifies pain very, very differently. I'll give you a very, very simple example. I think everyone will relate to it. I have severe sinusitis. So I have headaches every other day. Somebody is a migraine sufferer, he too has headaches. We are classified as sufferers of headaches in one large space. However, the way I understand and perceive my pain and because of why I have a headache is very vastly different from how a migraine sufferer would perceive a headache, right? This comes to the idea of healing. Now, healing in terms of pain as we defined it would mean going back to your relative normal, right? But the problem is, what is normal? My headache might end where a migraine sufferer's headache begins. Where does healing start and healing stop? Now, if you see the word healing itself, it's in a present continuous tense, healing. And that's an impromptu grammar lesson. You should know your tenses, children. But the problem here is that healing does not stop. Healing is independent